I used Unity, Godot and GameMaker. Today I want to share with you which is the best of the three, or even if there is actually some that is better than the other. I am sure that the conclusion that I have is going to surprise you a lot. Let's get started. First of all, let me quickly talk to you about my experience with them. Because if I told you that I use these three engines, I have to at least quickly go over the experience that I have with them. By the way, most of the information that I'm going to be mentioning can be completely validated through my GitHub. I'm going to be leaving a link to my profile in the description down below. You can go here to any of the languages that I'm going to be mentioning, and here you can go to the first repositories that I have with them, and you will validate that information is real. There could be some things that aren't available here, of course, but well, most of the information is here. So in May, I started using Godot. This was May of 2021, and I used Godot for something like a year. And basically, I was creating simple yet complete games. I didn't publish anything, or I didn't create anything like complete, full to be released or ready to be released, because well, I actually did have quite complete projects with lots of interesting mechanics. But well, I thought that the overall polish that the game had wasn't enough to actually publish anything. So after using Godot for something like 1 year, I switched to Unity in February 2022. And with Unity, yes, I did publish some games in the Google Play Store. You can check them out in the description down below. Not only did I have experience publishing my own indie games, but I also have the chance of working at Voodoo as an external studio. Basically, what I was doing is creating hybrid casual and hyper casual prototypes inside of Unity. I wasn't alone. I had a whole Voodoo team assigned to me that would validate everything in terms of the game and would help me create the best game as possible. And then with this game, they will basically test it out with some advertisements. And basically they were just tests and basic prototypes, but that still are published in the Google Play Store and are actually quite interesting for you to check out. Besides Voodoo, with Unity I also got my first freelance clients. I worked with freelance clients for something like 4-5 months, and then well, after working for those months as a freelancer, I wanted to look for something a little bit more formal in the industry, something more constant than just freelance jobs. So I also applied for some positions in content creation and more stuff related to actually social media, but well, I'm not going to talk about that, but you also have to know that I also spent months working at some companies and with small clients in content creation. And this is when suddenly in March I started working at Zelda as a course instructor. So basically I will create their pre-recorded Godot courses for their platform. This is the best job that I could ever get, because this combines both things that I like, both game development and content creation. So it is the opportunity that I am most focusing on literally right now, besides the YouTube channel. And well, here at Zelda, I am working currently, well, I was working with Godot for something like 2 months, and I created tons of courses related to Godot. And then after that, I started to create GameMaker courses from May to the current time. So currently I am also using GameMaker. Of course, I have used it since May, so I don't have that much experience in GameMaker, but I think that I can still give you some insights of my small experience yet learnative. Now, the first point that I would like to discuss is basically to acknowledge the differences. In order to determine which is the best engine for you, for your own purposes and even your own preferences, because maybe there is one engine that you feel most comfortable with than others because of the interface, because of the programming language, and that is something completely understandable and that you also have to take in account. So the key thing here is that you are able to acknowledge, to recognize the key differences between them. There are engines better for some stuff than others, there are interfaces and workflows that you may like more than the others, and there are engines with more information out there available than others. I believe it's super enriching to accept and understand that engines are all different, they have their pros and cons, and that depending on your needs and likings you may prefer one engine or the other, and this is completely fine. There is no need to demonize having experience in different engines. In fact, this can really help choose an engine better depending on the exact type of game that you want to create. Because as you have more knowledge about more engines, you will be able to choose more wisely which engine you're going to use for a certain project. Whereas if you just use one engine, you're limited to that piece of software, and if that piece of software isn't maybe the best tool for the exact game that you want to create, basically you will have to stick to it anyway because you know no other engines. Also, there are of course engines that could be better than others for certain purposes. For example, of course, Unity has much better 3D than Godot, and maybe Godot has a better workflow for 2D than Unity has. Of course, this really depends on your own preferences, of course. And then GameMaker, well, the 3D is mostly impossible to use because as far as I have researched, you have to use some kinds of external tools, something a little bit weird. There is literally no information about that on the internet, or quite limited, so it is quite difficult to create something 3D in GameMaker. And also I think that GameMaker still has a long journey to go through, because for example it still lacks lots of tools that literally any other engine like Godot and Unity do provide. Just a quick example is the fact that the move and collide function, that well, they exist at least in their own way in Godot and Unity, was literally introduced like some months ago, whereas like in any other engine this is a key function for something as simple as player movement, and it should have been existing for ages. Okay, so yes, of course GameMaker does have still its own interesting things, because yes, indeed the workflow with the event system that it provides is quite efficient, good to use, easy to follow along. Also the programming language is quite good, quite similar to Python and JavaScript, but anyway, it does lack programming tools, software tools, etc. So I believe that by acknowledging the differences between the different engines, you are going to be able to better be able to choose which engine will suit you best, depending on your preferences and also in the type of game that you want to be creating. And this leads me to the following point: try out new engines. Trying out new engines can actually like open up your mind, because today you may think that you should only stick to one engine forever until death, but what if you expand the surface of engines out there available? Maybe you don't switch up completely, that isn't the point at all, but just to learn more and more different flows. And this, as I have already explained, can directly impact how you use the current engine you are more focused on, or even open the boundaries about the options available. Of course, I still understand that you may really like one specifically, and trying out a new one may seem like a waste of time. I was also there. However, learning something new related to your area is never equal to spending time in vain. You will always learn something new that you can actually apply in game development in spite of the specific engine that you are using. So do not hesitate to try out a collection of different engines. It can really open your mind and enhance your game development skills. This is the best engine that you have to use. It isn't neither Godot, nor Unity, nor GameMaker. The best engine is the one that suits your game development needs and the one that you feel most comfortable with. I know you feel overwhelmed by the huge amount of engines available out there, and of course there are engines that are better than others for certain usages. But if you actually stop choosing an engine based on the features that it provides and instead because it aligns with your purpose and likings, only then you will find that best engine. As a result, in the way I see it, you acknowledge the differences between engines and are always willing to try out new ones. Basically, if you want to create a 3D AAA game, probably Godot won't be the best choice. Maybe it does do a good job or an average job, but probably there are just better tools than Godot, such as Unity or even Unreal, that I'm not going to be talking about since I didn't use it. If you want to create a simple 2D game, the 3 will be able to do that, but maybe Godot and GameMaker could be the best options to consider. At the end, if you want to create games, the best engine is the one that provides the tools for the projects you want to create and the one you feel most comfortable with. Thanks a lot for watching and subscribe for more game development content.